This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic! What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is March 23rd, 2026. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host, Kevin Tucker. Kevin Tucker, happy 600.
Wow. That's crazy. 600 episodes of the Sixth Man Show. You know, in years past, I think back to like some of our other monumental anniversary episodes of sorts. We've had some pretty crazy ones. I think about like episode 500 or our 5-year anniversary, all those kinds of things. Tonight might be the saddest anniversary show we've ever had, given the current state of the Magic this week, given Saturday night's game against the Lakers. Just, very, very different vibes this time. But regardless, very happy to get to celebrate number 600 with you. What's up, brother?
Yeah, it's you and I were talking before we started recording here that like the thought, and you know, there's been episodes here and there over the years that I haven't been a part of. But, you know, like, I don't know, 585 to 590 of them, something close to that, I would assume, that I have sat down and done this. And you, obviously, several hundred at this point as well. Like, you know, it's a lot to do this that many times. And eternally very grateful to everybody who has, you know, there are some sickos out there that have tuned into every single one of them.
Sickos.
Yeah. And everybody, you know, whether you've listened to a lot or a few, we really appreciate you being here. Really appreciate all the support over the years. This isn't going to be like, you know, the last few like pretty big episodes that we've had where I think 500 was that Jamal Mosley last year, or was that Paolo?
That was Jamal. Yep.
And then like the 5-year anniversary show, to me, will always be one of the most special shows that we've ever done. Obviously with the big surprise at the end. You know, that you had, and a little over 7 years that we've been doing this now, and just eternally grateful for all the opportunities that we've had, all the privileges that we've had, and most importantly, the relationships that have been made, you know, through the show. None more important than my friendship with Kevin and Luke, obviously, and all the other guys, Sam, Matt, Ben, you know, Fazan, Brandon, David, Ryan, Manny, like everybody that's a part of our team in one way or the other. And then all the people that, you know, obviously we've met from doing this. It's definitely been the privilege of a lifetime. And just much love and appreciation to everybody. Sorry we don't have like a super duper sexy, exciting 600th episode for you. But
Jonathan, I'm just kidding. I don't have a surprise.
do not, please.
Not this time. Nope.
Oh, I really appreciate that a lot. Okay. Couple of housekeeping things really quickly. And then we are going to like jump into, you know, talk about these games, obviously. First of all, this episode has been brought to you by Austin Vogt, Daniel Anderson, Barry El Mexico, Junior Bruce, and Nick Snappa. These are some of our Hall of Fame and Elite tier patrons. And then a special shout out to Ross Holder, who upgraded to our Hall of Fame tier as well. Whenever we can, we like to shout out some of our patrons just to thank them for supporting what we do here. None of which what we do would be possible without the support of our patrons. So if you like at all what we're doing, maybe if you just want to come alongside of us and celebrate 600 episodes, if you go to patreon.com/the6man show, you can pick whatever tier works best for you. We have a tier as low as like a couple dollars a month if you just want to support the show. And then you can look at the other tiers that have like additional benefits and all that. But a really big thank you to all of our patrons. Kev, I know we do have some bits of Magic news to get to before we really talk about the last couple of games, the Charlotte game, the Lakers game, you know, in between last pod and this episode. But Kevin, I just wanted to take a couple of minutes here because I know it's fresh on everybody's mind and fresh on their hearts. Just how gut-wrenching this Lakers loss was for a multitude of reasons, the way that it ended, the opponent that it is, some of the extracurriculars, the atmosphere, you would say, at Kia that evening. to me, this isn't the worst loss of the season, right? Like when you think of like, oh, this is a really bad loss. To me, this was the most gut-wrenching and painful loss of the season. And I woke up today and it was the very first thing as we were recording this Sunday. So waking up this morning, the morning after the game. And I think, not for the first time all year, but it's been a little while since the sting of a Magic loss was the very first thing that hit my mind when I opened my eyes.
Yeah, this one was really tough. I think for all the reasons you mentioned, right? Like, it's never a good feeling, obviously, to have a bunch of air quote fans of another team, come into your building and at least me, as I'm sitting there either in the arena or watching on TV. That's not true. Not all I'm thinking about, but one of the things I'm thinking about is like, I want them to go home absolutely miserable, and I have absolutely no shame saying that, right? Like, I want you to lose, and I want you to feel like you wasted your time and money doing this. And
I want you to question how you got to where you are in life.
Exactly. Yeah. Please question your life choices. And so when that doesn't happen, I hate that. But yeah, you add to it, right? Like just how it ended and the multiple points of frustration that were jam packed into the last 10 seconds of this game, I think are also part of what made it boil over into, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself here. We're going to talk about this game, but like as the buzzer sounded, I honestly, I was out of feelings. I had nothing. I was just dead. I part of me died on Saturday night, Jonathan. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I hope the emotion was conveyed through the post game holler that it presented by Holler Hyundai. By the way, they've been in business for over 87 years. You always get their best price first promise. If you need a car, go check out Holler Hyundai. But like I was just completely disgusted and dejected after that loss, and that was after a loss that painful. Like that was my immediate reaction. Like I'm watching the car. I'm from my Hyundai, by the way. I'm driving home, watching that game on my phone, coming home from a family, birthday dinner, and I swiped up to close the Prime app, and I went right to my camera and just raw emotion there. And yeah, it wasn't that I wanted that one so badly, but I didn't want to lose it so badly. Like it wasn't about like, oh my gosh, I want to win this game. Is I don't want to lose this game.
Yeah.
And yeah, just we'll talk about all the particulars, but I know there are a lot of people that are still kind of reeling from that, and just wanted to kind of open with our thoughts on that. And we are going to talk all things the Magic loss to the Lakers here in just a few minutes.
Yep.
Couple of quick pieces of Orlando Magic news. Orlando Magic wing, I think we can call him, Jamal Cain. He has been on the Magic's roster all season as a two-way player. He, I don't want to say upgraded. Maybe upgraded is the best way to say that. Converted. He has been converted to a standard contract with the Magic throughout the rest of the season, which also does allow them to carry him on their roster into the postseason, which might be the number one reason why they're doing this. And Kevin, this is the first, this thought literally just popped into my head. Is this Franz Wagner insurance for the postseason? That they think that Franz isn't going to be ready. I know you're just processing it. Yeah. I'm processing this in real time because it had not come to my mind until just now.
Very, very valid question. And in fact, you and I, right before we started recording the show, we're looking at the calendar. We're like, oh, there's only 3 weeks left in the regular season. Like 3 weeks from today, as we're talking. Actually, right now, it's 8:25 p.m. The Magic's final game is going to be ending right now, 3 weeks from today, because it tips off at 6 o'clock.
Can't wait.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Especially it's in Boston. Gosh. So, yeah, knowing that clock is ticking, that is a astute observation, Mr. Osborne. Very well could be what it is. Yeah, that's tough. But regardless, I will say, I think Jamal Cain has played pretty well in the moments that he's been given. Yeah, definitely earned it. I mean, even thinking this week alone, the moments where he's been given opportunities to play quite well on both ends, I've been quite happy with him on both offensively and defensively. Could he make more shots? Sure. But outside of that, like the rebounding, I've been really impressed with his rebounding for his size. Like, yeah, I congratulations to him. I mean, that's a huge deal. That's a significant pay bump, and opportunity to play in the postseason is huge. So yeah, really happy for him.
And the reason that it came to mind really was the fact that he is a wing, and
Right.
what it feels like the Magic are missing a big piece of at a lot of times, especially when like Paolo Banchero's not on the floor or Anthony Black's not on the floor. The Magic don't really have anybody with the size outside of Jamal Cain now to guard some of these wings, and he's a decent defender. Like I marginally a plus. Like he's not a negative on that end. Like he's pretty solid. He's not Franz Wagner by any means. I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying that he's going to be able to replace Franz, because that's certainly not the case. But that is a glaring hole on this team. If all of a sudden, because Jamal Cain's two-way status didn't allow you to carry him on the roster into the postseason, that would be a glaring hole on this roster. Is a wing that he can knock down some shots, as we did see in the Lakers game. So yeah, happy for Jamal Cain. Obviously, a nice little pay bump for him the rest of the way here. And yeah, now in the last 3 minutes, I've become even more paranoid that we might not see Franz, because Jason Beatty posted some footage of Franz after the Magic shoot around on Saturday, and he still looks like he's taking pretty ginger set jump shots.
Yep.
And everything that we've heard is that obviously he's understandably frustrated that he's not ready to go, and he's not doing a lot of, contact and a lot of like work on the floor. Now, this could just be the only portion of his workout that the media got to see was this. And either before that or after that, he was doing more. But yeah, I keep coming back to when Paolo was out, where Paolo went from not doing any contact to 2 days later he was back starting. But I am becoming increasingly concerned as we get towards the end of the season, and it doesn't seem like a Franz return is imminent.
Yeah, that's definitely something to keep an eye on. And yeah, it does not feel soon. Like after seeing that footage, and man, just think about 12 games left, I think, in the season. I think we played game 70 on Saturday. So yeah, looking at 12 games left, 3 weeks. Even if he does, let's say he comes back tonight as you're listening to this, Monday. Let's say he comes back Monday. He's not going to, but let's say he does. He's already out, actually. Best case scenario, he comes back. That's only 3 weeks to get him like fully into game level shape, playoff level game shape. The clock is just absolutely ticking, brother. Does not feel good.
Yeah, I know other people have made this point, but I would tend to agree that at this point, him coming back, unless you are like multiple, playoff rounds in and he's had time to play himself into shape, which we're not ruling out. It does, that feels unlikely, but I don't think it's impossible still.
Yeah.
Depending on the matchups when it comes to the postseason. But I think at least to start, when you bring Franz back, he probably needs to come in off the bench. Just given the fact that like he's been out so long and it's been this kind of start, stop. I would still close Franz. If there's a game where like he's got a 25-minute restriction and there's 4 minutes to go in a close game that you got a chance to go out and win, I'm playing Franz. I don't care what the medical staff says. I'm putting him out there. Who knows if they'll do that or not? But I think we're in that neighborhood already, and we may getting close to the point where he just isn't able to come back, and it doesn't make sense to risk him, because if the front office and the coaching staff feel an inkling of what a lot of Magic fans feel like, this does not feel like a team that is just, going to get it all together when they get into the postseason if they have to play Cleveland or Boston or wherever. But that's conversations for another time there. Kevin, anything else on this before we move to the next bit here? So it was announced today that the April 1st game at Kia between the Magic and the Hawks is no longer going to be on ESPN as it was originally scheduled to be. That game was going to tip off at 7:30. Now that game is going to be on FanDuel Sports Florida. and it'll tip off at 7 o'clock.
And I just want to say really fast, I am obviously it stinks for the Magic, but I want to say I am so happy for the two small market teams that are going to be able to be on ESPN instead. They just never get a chance to do that. So congratulations to Boston and Miami on your game being flexed to ESPN, because no one ever watches Boston and Miami. So I'm so glad that the casuals around the country are going to be able to get their eyes on these two teams for the first time this season. That's really, really great.
Well, Kevin, they had to get rid of the Magic Hawks game because there's no playoff implications in that game.
Exactly. Well,
so it made
right.
no
That's the
sense
other
to
thing.
have it on ESPN at all.
Right. They're not two teams that are directly competing with one another. Switching to a Boston Miami where there's like a 10-game gap between the two teams, that makes a lot of sense. But having, the fact that the Magic and Hawks aren't neck and neck and aren't division rivals, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to flex it off.
Well, I know one of the first things that Kevin and I thought about when this news came out was like, oh my gosh, that's the night that we have our Court of Dreams experience. Is this going to affect that at all by them moving up the tip time? Is it going to mess with our time? And I reached out to my contact with the Magic, and as of right now, there are no plans to move our Court of Dreams experience. So if you got tickets to that, you've received that email, the information that you got there is all still valid. If that changes at all, we will make sure that the Magic reach out to everybody and update them to let them know that that changes. But as of right now, as of 8 o'clock Sunday night as we're recording, that is not changed, and I don't expect it to change. So but yeah, it's annoying. I had a brief conversation with someone on social media today about this, and I don't want to point them out because I'm not trying to whatever. I'm not trying to draw attention to them, but they were asking why does anybody care about this kind of stuff? And my response was the league and its media partners take every opportunity that they can to give these big markets advantages. And this person disagreed with me that it was an advantage at all to have a nationally televised game. And when you're talking about your team being a desirable destination, which in terms of free agency right now, it really doesn't matter for the Magic because the salary cap is pretty much locked down, or the Magic salary is pretty much locked down with the contracts that they have. But when you're talking about the popularity of a team, national and global recognition of a team, and then in turn the national and global recognition of the players of that team when it comes to marketability and endorsements, sponsorships, things of that nature, the amount of time that you spend on national TV directly impacts that kind of stuff. You can't tell me otherwise, or no one would value that platform. So it's just we're gonna, I think, at some point in this episode, as we talk about the Goga and Luka Doncic stuff, have another little mini rant about the status of the league and the things that the league values. But this just once again shows that, yeah, there's 9 or 10 teams that we really, really care about. The rest of you, we just need you to fill time and play these teams so that these teams kind of have something to do. And, we're gonna take all of the good things that we want from those other markets, but then we're just gonna kind of give you guys the crumbs to fight over. And that's all I have to say about that at this point.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that whole idea, but yeah, it sounds petty. I get it. We're sitting here, complaining about one game being changed from one TV network to another, right? But the problem is this is just an ongoing thing, and I joke half jokingly earlier in the season when we decided the Court of Dreams night, I was like, oh yeah, until it gets flexed off ESPN, right? Half jokingly. But as the last month and a half have gone by with the Hawks going crazy, the Magic, 7-game win streak, now 4-game losing streak, but the two teams being right there in battle for 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever ends up being the seeding, I thought, oh, well, hey, now it's definitely not going to be flexed because these are two teams directly fighting each other for playoff positioning 11 days before the end of the season, right? So I was very, very surprised when that came across. But then when I saw the teams that were being flexed in, I was like, oh, Of course. You should have just planned it from the beginning of the season because you were going to do it all along anyway. So, yeah, pretty disappointing.
Yeah. Well, the Magic and the Hawks are separated by a half game right now. They're separated by one game in the win column. And look, I get it if, ESPN, because they don't actually watch the games. They just look at the box score. If you're looking at the box score of how the Magic and the Hawks have, squared up this year, yeah, like, do you want another blowout on, that night, whatever? But, like, there's also the chance that that's a fantastic game still. Like, yeah. And it means a lot to both teams. Like, if the Hawks win that, like, there's a really good chance that they're, like, putting a bow on the division at that point. Yeah. It's a huge game for both teams, but we are neither surprised or shocked. We're not mad. We're just disappointed.
Yep.
I'm mad. I lied. Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and go through the weekly state of the Magic. Kevin and I sat here 1 week ago, and we said the Magic have to go at least 2-2 on this week. If you have not been tuned in this week to what the Magic have been doing, I regret to inform you that they did not go 2-2. They went 0-4. They lost all 4 games this week. They are now 38-32 on the season, 13 games back of Detroit, 9 games back of Boston, 7.5 games back of New York, 5.5 games back of Cleveland, 1.5 game back of Toronto, a half game back of Atlanta and Philadelphia, a half game up on the Heat, thanks to Amen Thompson, and 1.5 games up on the Charlotte Hornets. And that's pretty much the Eastern Conference race. The Bucks are, 7.5 games back with 13 games to go. Yeah, this 1 through 10 in Pistons are definitely finishing first. Everything else is kind of up for grabs there. 1 through 10.
I was just going to say 7.5 games back of the Hornets. They're 9 games back at the Magic. So the Magic are not going to drop. They're not going to drop out of the play-in. The Magic are going to play postseason basketball. It's just a matter of, is it play-in? First off, is it 7-8 game, or is it the 9-10 game? And then better would be you miss the play-in altogether. But yeah, the Magic will be playing in the postseason for sure.
Which the Magic, like we just mentioned, are a half game out of at least the 6th seed where they wouldn't be in the play-in. So
The Six Man Show is brought to you by the Posit Group. They're your home team on and off the court. Get it, home team, because they're out to help you find your new home or sell your current home. And they are the best.
You know what?
You like that?
Just clicked.
No way.
I promise you.
Are
That's
you
how
kidding
stupid
me?
I am.
No, you're
promise.
not stupid, but that's really funny.
No, that is stupidity, actually. I'm just realizing that about the home team, and I'm realizing in this moment how stupid I am.
That is the cleverness, if that's a word, of the Posit Group, because they have great little taglines like your home team on and off the court, because they want to help you buy or sell a home in Central Florida. They're the best at it in Central Florida. They have over 1,700 5-star reviews. That is so funny. I can't believe that. That's amazing. They're the top 1% of sales in the United States. If you are in the market for a new home, or maybe you're looking to sell your home and you are in Central Florida, look no further than the Posit Group. You can visit their website at pozek.com. That's POZEK.com. Ken and his whole team are literally the best of the best in Central Florida. Reach out to them. Let them know that you're interested in buying or selling a home with them, and you will not be disappointed. Shout out to Ken. Shout out to the whole team at the Posit Group for sponsoring the show.
You might not be disappointed, but I'm disappointed in myself, because you can read something 50 times out loud, and for some reason it never ever clicked. But yeah, big shout out to our friends over at the Posit Group. And now it is time for one of our favorite segments of every week, the jam, hot chicken jam of the week. I'm going to spare everybody here. We're going to go back to the third quarter against the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Magic led 67-65. Jalen Suggs takes the shot from almost the logo, and it's no good. It bounces off the front of the rim and off the backboard, and Wendell Carter drives the lane, catches it with 2 hands off of the rim. Alex Caruso there, I don't know what he thought he was doing, but getting dunked on, little boy. And Wendell throws it down with 2 hands to give the Magic a 4-point lead. A couple minutes later, they would get a 7-point lead. and then blow it and blow the game. But that's not here what we're talking about. We're here talking about how Jam Hot Chicken is going to blow your mind because the food is so delicious. They are proudly serving the city beautiful. Jam Hot Chicken is bringing jams, culture, and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park. They are a Nashville and LA-inspired hot chicken shack, locally owned and operated in Winter Park, and also now in Winter Garden as well at their new location. In Winter Park, find them at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square. In Winter Garden, you can find them at the Plant Street Market. Follow them at Jam Hot Chicken on all social media. Check out jamhotchickenfl.com, which has newly been redesigned, but you can find their menu, order online, and find all things Jam Hot. When you stop by, let them know, hey, I've got this code 6th Man. That'll get you 10% off every single meal. If you're ordering online, you can type in 6th Man, SIXTHMAN. Again, 10% off every single meal. A big shout out to our friends over at Jam Hot Chicken and for sponsoring the Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week. And now let's get back to the episode. Kev, I wanted to take a quick pause here and leave some room for us to talk about. We said the Magic have to go 2-2. They did not. How do we feel as they didn't do something we said they had to do?
Yeah,
looking at it now, do we still feel like they had to do that?
No, I don't. First off, I laugh because I feel like we've sat here 20 times this season saying the Magic have to do something, and so few times have they actually done it. No, I don't feel that way. A big part of it is you sit here with a 4-game losing streak. Guess who also has a 4-game losing streak? The Miami Heat, right? So that has helped the Magic. And also, the Sixers, they've won 2 in a row, but they had lost several before that. The Raptors have lost. The Hawks win streak came to an end. So all of those gigantic win streaks that were populating, the 5th through 9th spots pretty much, all the teams have lost this week. Now, I don't think anybody except for Miami went 0. Yeah, no one else went 0-4 this week, obviously. But the fact of the matter is, the goal right now, like the absolute best the Magic can do, is the 5 seed, right? The 4 seed's gone. I talked about it on the postgame live last night. The 4 seed died this week, right? Even though you play Cleveland on Tuesday, you're now back 5.5 games, right? That's not happening. Okay, so wave goodbye to that. The next best thing is the 5 seed, and you're a game and a half back of the 5 seed, and you play Toronto a week from today as we're talking right now. That is absolutely still up for grabs. That is still there for the taking. And when you consider the level of opponents this team played this past week, and I'm not excusing it, the Magic should have won Saturday. We're going to talk about it. The Magic should not have lost by 1 million on Thursday. They should not have lost by 1 million on Monday. On and on and on. The fact of the matter is they played a historically tough schedule this week with 4 teams that are the hottest teams in basketball. Just a wild set of coincidences that all the hottest teams in basketball would play the Magic this week, right? So I take that part with a grain of salt, but then I look ahead, and as we look ahead, like the schedule changes quite significantly starting this week. It's not all gimmies. Like I said, we have to go to Cleveland on Tuesday and go to Toronto on Sunday. But wedged in between that, you've got Indiana, you've got Sacramento. Indiana has lost 16 straight games. Sacramento has won 18 games this whole season, right? Like, we are getting into a part of the schedule that involves some winnable games. And to me, if the 5 seed is still the goal and you're holding a game and a half back and you play Toronto head to head, it's all still there for the taking. So was 2-2 great, or 0-4 instead of 2-2? Was that great? No, but it's all still right there for the taking. So I'm not out of it yet.
Yeah. And you've beat Cleveland already, very recently, right? And like jumping a little bit too far ahead, then you play Phoenix. Phoenix has lost 5 in a row.
Right.
So your next 5 games are very winnable. From like a have to win aspect, like because all the teams were so hot at that point, it did feel like, well, everybody's just going to keep winning at this point. So we've got to win games to kind of keep up. Yeah. Everybody around us has cooled off at least just a little bit, just enough so that you don't feel like, had Toronto won, more this week. Well, now you're 3 games back of 5.
Right.
If Atlanta hadn't lost, you'd be a full, 2 games back of 6, and you play them again. So that April 1st game, regardless of what ESPN says, the significance of that game has not changed at all.
Yeah, it's
That
huge.
game is the most important game the rest of the season. We keep saying this. You really need that Atlanta game, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about that. But for
Yeah.
me, Kevin, what I will tell you that what this 4-game losing streak has done for me, the 7-game winning streak, we heard nothing about Jamal Mosley. For the most part, some people were saying, oh, they're winning in spite of him, blah, blah, instead of because of him, whatever. What this 4-game losing streak has cemented to me, even though you had that 7-game win streak, this team needs a new voice.
Mm.
Like I'm still convinced of that. Some of the offensive struggles that we've seen at times, some of the mental lapses at times, regardless of how this season goes for me, that I don't know that there's anything that can change my mind of that. Yeah. This team playing so well. I know you're playing super hot teams, but especially the way that this team came out against Atlanta, against Charlotte, and to a certain extent, like the beginning of the Oklahoma City game. I know you came out, they closed the deficit in that game, but it's just too frequently this year, this team is not getting up for like the biggest games on their schedule. When we're like, this is the one that we need, even though they're playing their best basketball of the season, they've gotten their identity back, all those kind of things, somehow they still come out completely flat against Atlanta, parts of the Oklahoma City game, against Charlotte. And you can blame the schedule. I get that. But on the other hand, like we've been playing with house money to a certain degree where we've actually played less games than other teams around the league. So why haven't we been taking advantage of that? Like the second half of January and, into, parts of February as well. And then we started to pick up some of these wins. So maybe a lot of people out there don't agree with that. I'm still 100% convinced that this team needs a new voice at head coach going into next season. We're not going to spend a ton of time. I don't know if you want to add your 2 cents into that, but that's obviously not changing between now and when the Magic season comes to a complete end.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's hard because what you said is 100% correct, and I think a lot of Magic fans agree with that. I still wonder how would these conversations be happening as passionately and as frequently as they have been if we have a healthy season, right? Like, and I don't know the answer. The answer may still be yes, right? If you have your whole, roster of guys available like a normal amount for a whole season, this whole season, like, is there a world in which they figure it out? It clicks on both ends of the floor. This team is good. I don't know, but to steal words from you, that's not the reality we live in, right? Like that's just that. These are the cards we've been dealt, and that's the way it is. And because of it, yeah, it feels like you're spot on there. But this will always be, I think, barring a championship, this will always be the season of like what could have been, like what ifs. I think a lot of that has to do with injuries for me.
And I think, just to kind of put an end to this little bit here, I think we still would be having the conversation, but we wouldn't be having the conversation right now.
Sure.
This would have been, who knows how quickly a decision would have been made going into the offseason. But I do think that the conversations would have ended following the Magic's end of their season, barring a championship. I don't know if there's ever been a team that's fired their coach after winning a championship. But I think we all would have come to that conclusion when the Magic season came to an end of like, hey, yes, a lot of good things happened, but it's pretty obvious that to get to that next step, we need, a different voice. So those are conversations, to be had amongst the fan base at a later date. There are people that continue to say certain things, but literally nothing is changing. I don't think we're going to have like a Denver Nuggets type of situation where, Malone was let go right before the playoffs last year. So,
yeah.
Alrighty, let's take a look at some of the numbers and what they tell us. So far this year, your Orlando Magic are 14th in the league in offensive rating with an offensive rating of 115.5. In terms of defensive rating, they're up to 8th on the season with a defensive rating of 110.7. Actually, I'm looking at post All-Star numbers. How can I not get the Google tabs correct? So 14th in offense, 8th in defense post All-Star break for the season, 17th in offense, and 12th in defense. And I wanted to take a quick snapshot. I know we're going to talk about some of his struggles in recent games, but Paolo in the last 5, the Magic have lost 4 of those, 22.6 per game, 42% from the floor, 31% from deep, 85% at the free throw line, 7.2 rebounds, 5.6 assists. And Desmond Bane in the last 5 games, 18.2 points, 45% from the floor, 40% from deep, 4 rebounds, 3.2 assists. So each of their scoring numbers coming down a little bit in the last few games that the Magic have lost, and we'll go in and we'll talk about all of that in detail. When we take a look at the injury report, Wendell Carter Jr., who missed Thursday's game against Charlotte, did play on Saturday against the Lakers. He is now off of the injury report, and on the injury report now, it's just Jonathan Isaac, Anthony Black, and Franz Wagner. All of those guys are out for Monday's game against Indiana. All right, Kev, let's get in the time machine. We'll go back to last Thursday, which felt like a massive game. As good as Charlotte has been playing, it being a division opponent, you've been punked by the Hornets at times this year, and the Magic were on they lost 2, but they had lost 2 games in a row. We said, hey, like, you have to win 2 games this week. So it was going to have to be at this point the Charlotte game and the Lakers game. And this was another game where, very similar to the Hawks game, where it for me, it wasn't necessarily the effort as much as it was the focus and executing and being in the right spots defensively, and just playing as a unit and making good decisions. And the Magic hung in there for a little bit, 32-34 first quarter in favor of the Hornets, but then you get outscored by 17 in the second quarter and 14 in that third quarter. And really, at that point, this game felt like it was over. They led by as much as 35. And really doesn't matter who the opponent is or who's on your team. At that point, it feels like it's over. And basically, we saw an entire fourth quarter of the Magic's like fourth line. Like, Colin Castleton played 10 minutes in the fourth. Alex Morales played 12 minutes. Like Javon Carter, Jamal Cain, like those guys all played essentially the entire fourth quarter. This was a night where the Magic didn't really have it going on either end. They shoot 41% from the floor, 33% from deep. They have 14 turnovers in this game. Charlotte has 22. It doesn't matter because they shoot 52% from the floor, 47% from deep, where they shoot 46 threes. So they made 22 of 46. And they ended up being 24 of 27 from the free throw line. Just completely dominate the Magic. It felt like this was a massive game, and it was just one that the Magic didn't show up for, right? Like, Desmond had a pretty good game shooting the ball, 24 points on 8 of 15. Outside of him, everybody was mostly not good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Mostly not good. Yeah, this was really, really disappointing. When we looked at this week beforehand, we said, obviously 2-2. We said, man, if we had to pick 2, you're picking the Atlanta game and the Charlotte game, right? For the head-to-head implications. I don't necessarily mean head-to-head matchup-wise, but I mean just standings-wise and those things. And so when you go out to Atlanta Monday and you lay an egg there, you'd like to think that this game Thursday, you can go into it with a better chance of at least being competitive. And gosh, it was the least competitive game of the week, which is crazy when you factor in you played Oklahoma City on the second night of a back-to-back, and you played the Los Angeles Lakers, and you played the team that had an 11-game win streak, the Atlanta Hawks, before they lost this week, right? Like, this should have been on paper the easiest one, and you trailed by as many as 35. And that was really, really disappointing. I do think this is not the reason you lost, but I think, like you said, Wendell being out,
you're going Wendell. I thought we were starting to go to the other part of the conversation here.
Well, there are other conversations to be had, but like Wendell being out didn't help. The officiating in the first half, is that where you're going to go?
Oh, I mean, I don't. Yeah. I think it's impossible to ignore that.
Yeah, it was shocking. I mean, if you don't like officiating talk, you probably might just want to turn off the rest of the episode, because between this game and parts of the Lakers game, I think there's a lot of questionable officiating. But how this game was officiated in the first half was actually shocking. Like, really, really, really surprising and very disappointing. And yeah, we got some fireworks in the first half that we haven't really had. At least I think there's one time Mosley's been ejected one time. Isn't that right?
I don't think so.
Really?
I could be wrong. I don't remember another ejection.
I thought he got ejected one time. Maybe not. Maybe he just got a really fiery tee. Man, maybe he wasn't. I don't know. I got to look into it. But regardless, Jamal Mosley ejected on Thursday night, which was my favorite. That was the highlight of the game for me, honestly, which is sad. But I was very, very happy and proud of him that he stood up for the atrocities that he was witnessing, because that was pretty wild.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back to find the exact play that set Jalen Suggs off, but basically midway through the first, something happened that Jalen Suggs was not happy about. I think he got pushed or shoved by LaMelo Ball, and right in front of the official, nothing happened. And then the next time down the floor, Jalen seems to be talking to the official and takes out his mouthpiece and chucks it. He wasn't throwing it at anybody in particular. I think it either hit or got very close to a fan sitting courtside, because Jalen was fined, I think, $25,000 for this. But right in front of Scott Foster, and Scott Foster tees him up. And to me, what happened at that point was essentially Scott Foster decided that the Magic were losing this game. So much so to the point where midway through the second quarter, the first half, if you go back and watch it, it was one team was able to play very, very physically. One team was not able to play physically at all. And the team that wasn't able to play physically at all was the Orlando Magic. And look, when we complain about officiating, I know people hate that. I think in the lifetime of doing this show, there's less than a handful of games that I've truly blamed the loss on officiating. This is not one of those games. I'm not blaming the loss on officiating. But I do think it's fair to be critical of officials when they objectively do a bad job, and then to remember that these things are not mutually exclusive. Just because I say the officials are doing a bad job, it doesn't mean that I believe that that's why the Magic lost the game. But there were calls being made on one end of the floor that were not being made on the other, and Jamal had kind of reached his boiling point, and also the Magic started to trail as well by the time that he was ejected. I'm trying to go back and find the exact score. It was double digits at that point.
Yeah, it's down 17.
5-14. You're down 17 at that point. Jamal Mosley gets ejected, and I have no other explanation for what happened in that moment other than the fact that Jamal got the first ejection with the intent of getting the second ejection the first technical and getting the second technical and earning the ejection.
Oh yeah. He was
never
out for
seen
it right
him
away.
dress down an official like that. Use words that we will not repeat on this broadcast here. But to me, it was because these guys looked very, very flat, and he was doing anything to get them ejected. And we were doing a watch along with members from our Patreon. This was the highlight of the game. This was the only time that people got loud, excited, cheered. Everybody, it was unanimous. Everybody was thrilled, and dare I say, proud of Jamal Mosley.
Absolutely.
For getting ejected for this.
Yep.
I think with the two technical fouls, I didn't see, because he didn't then go into the post game and further berate the officials like we thought maybe he would. Thought he was pretty political about, his post game comments. Because I was surprised that we didn't get news that he got fined like $35,000 or something like that. So what is it, $5,000 a technical for players? I don't know if the same pertains to coaches, but like Jamal Mosley got a couple of fines for what? Because if people want to complain about Jamal Mosley, and look, I do my fair share of that as well, and more so criticism of Jamal Mosley. What else is he supposed to do to try to inject some life into this team other than what he did there? Because we didn't even get like a little blip of life after that. It just continued on the exact same trajectory. There wasn't like a 5-minute rush to close the half where these guys were like reinvigorated and wanted to play for their coach. They were just like, oh, see ya. We'll see you in the locker room at half, and then after the game, you're gone. They did none of that. They were down by 17 at this point, ended up being down by as much as 35 in this game. The officiating was legitimately atrocious. I'm not trying to excuse that at all. But the Magic lost this game because they just quite frankly did not show up for it. And credit to Jamal for trying to do what he could do to inject some life into this team, but it was an awesome moment that ended up being for nothing.
Yeah, very, very disappointing. Again, it was awesome to watch. Like I loved seeing him go. I mean, just all out on the officials. It was really, really fun. But yeah, the game itself, man. I mean, goodness gracious, very, very disappointing from everybody. Like you said, Desmond Bane shot the ball fine. Jamal Cain was very good. We just talked about him earlier. Jamal Cain was very, very good. But you can't win a game with Jamal Cain and Desmond Bane. That's just not how that works. Cain and Bane won't send you to the promised land. But yeah, everybody else, I mean, like we said, no Wendell, so Goga has to start. Like it was a mess from the beginning. And yeah, really, really, really disappointing. Again, it's one thing to lose a game and I mean, think about just this week, like OKC and the Lakers, like those are heartbreaking losses. But obviously you were competitive in those games. So I think there's an ounce of pride that can be taken from those. There is no silver lining, no pride left after a night like Thursday. Like you just get absolutely blasted. You don't even play your key players in the fourth quarter, like you said, because it was just so over. Yeah. And again, I know the Magic have played a ton of basketball lately, a shocking amount of basketball lately. I'd like to sit here and say they were just tired, but they looked way better Tuesday night on the second night of a back-to-back against the defending champions. They looked way better, right? Saturday night against the Lakers, they looked way better that. I don't know about way better. That's not true. The Magic didn't play great on Saturday.
Yeah.
But they still looked better than Thursday against a team that is much worse than both of those other opponents in a game that was much more important. And you just didn't even, like you said, didn't even show up. Like you just never had a chance after the second quarter started. And that was really, really tough. I don't know. Maybe it's home cooking versus being on the road. Who knows? But it was not acceptable.
Like Kobe White, 27 points off the bench. Like that, the Magic were already down. And then when he started to get going, that's when it was like, oh, we really are screwed, tonight in that one. Yeah, just really disappointing all the way around. Like I said, we had like a watch along with some of our patrons, and like midway through the third quarter, everybody was talking about like who their favorite like bands are to see in person. Like that's where the conversation, and hey, I partook in that conversation. It was just, there wasn't a lot to talk about, in regarding this team. So
nope.
Really disappointing loss. And then you think, surely there's no way we go 0-4 this week. The Lakers come into town, Kevin, and this was a game that had 10 lead changes. They were tied 7 times. The Magic were down by as much as 14, were up by as much as 7. To me, this was a game outside of a couple of runs by each team that just, especially that second half, was begging for one team to take over.
Yep.
The Magic, I think, might have had that 7-point lead like briefly in the second half, but for the most point, it felt like this like 3 to 6 point swing. The Magic would go up, Lakers would come back. They would get it close. Magic would extend the lead back out a little bit. Lakers would come back. Magic would get a little bit of breathing room. The Lakers would come back, and then we really got into those last few minutes there. And I guess really the best way to do this is just kind of go through the play-by-play. And Kev, what would you say, like the last minute and a half maybe of this one is really where we get into the so Paolo makes a layup, a really tough layup, with a minute 43. It's a 1-point game. He makes a really tough layup. Who he had not played well at all, didn't play well in this game, but all of a sudden, Paolo makes a couple of free throws a couple of minutes before he makes that layup, makes a couple of free throws a little bit later, and it seems like, wow, Paolo didn't play well, but Paolo has really showed up in these last few minutes, is going to carry us home to a victory. So makes that layup. It's a 3-point game, a minute 43 to go. Doncic makes a tough pull-up immediately after, cuts it back to a 1-point game. Wendell, who I didn't feel like Wendell played well the entire night, but in the fourth quarter was very good, was very clutch. He hits a jumper, 3-point game, 1:16 to go. Paolo gets fouled about a minute, or actually about 15 seconds later, makes 2 free throws. Now it's a 5-point game. The Magic are up 104-50 with 50 seconds to go. Well, the Lakers fly right down the other end. Austin Reeves makes a layup, 3-point game with 42 seconds to go. This next possession, Kevin, we'll start here, and we can kind of get your thoughts on this as well. Magic very clearly are running clock, which is something that at least I have been critical of in the closing minutes of some of their more recent games. Some of those games they won, but then Bane takes what was a really tough, borderline bad shot, but it was the end of the shot clock. He takes like a contested step back with 19 seconds left. He misses it. What were your thoughts on that possession and kind of the strategy at that point to try to kill some clock?
It was funny. We just had this conversation a couple weeks ago, right? Like, there's a line somewhere between killing clock and just trying to take a good shot. Yeah, that was a bad possession. I think part of it also was just the whole quarter. Like, the Magic scored 17 points in the fourth quarter. Like, you had no offense the entire fourth. Like, it was bad, very, very bad. And so I think all that just continued to boil over late in this game. And so, yeah, did not like the shot, but at the same time, we weren't getting any good shots. It felt like that whole quarter. So at the end of the day, milking clock is probably the right move, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't hate the move at the time. I do wish that they were able to get a better shot, because at that point, if you score on that possession, the game's over.
Yeah.
Like, at that point, now you're up 7 with 20 seconds to go. Or you at least, sorry, you would have been up 5, maybe 6, with 19 seconds to go. But then Reeves takes a 3 with 10 seconds left. DeAndre Ayton gets a rebound, and they call a foul on Tristan da Silva. I don't remember seeing the replay of the foul and I honestly did not think of it much in the moment. However, now we have the luxury of the last 2-minute report, where the last 2-minute report deems that Tristan did not foul DeAndre Ayton on that play.
Yep. Clean
now
slate.
you could say one thing or another, like, okay, well, maybe if he doesn't foul him, DeAndre Ayton just puts it back up. He only makes one of those 2 free throws. If he's not fouled, maybe he just makes the layup. And now, instead of this being a 2-point game after he makes the first free throw with 6 seconds left, maybe now this is a 1-point game or whatever, right?
Right.
Then, still going to be fouling and all that kind of stuff, whatever. He makes the first free throw. He misses the second free throw on purpose. Wendell Carter ends up with the rebound. And then it looks like from the replay that Goga Batadze mentioned something to the ref before the second free throw is shot, because nobody actually calls timeout with the hand signal, at least from what I could see of the replay looking at the bench. I was looking at Jamal Mosley. I'm looking at Dale Osborne. I'm looking at Joe Prunty. I'm looking at everybody on the floor. Correct me if I'm wrong. I did not see anybody signal for a timeout in that replay. It looks like before the free throw, Goga turns to the official and says, if we get the rebound, we're calling timeout right away. As soon as Wendell Carter gets that rebound, Goga turns to the official. They call timeout. Now, there's a few different ways to think about it. In the moment, my mind immediately went to, which may be right or wrong, okay, we're trying to make sure that we get the ball in Desmond Bane's hands because he's our best free throw shooter. If we get it to Desmond Bane, this game is going to be over. He's going to make both free throws. Magic are going to be up 4. We have nothing to worry about. On the other hand, the other argument is you're stopping the clock when you have the ball and possession in a game that you're leading that has 5 seconds left. You don't call timeout, perhaps another second, maybe 2 seconds runs off of the clock. And if I'm not mistaken, Wendell had made a pretty big free throw a few minutes before. Where, yeah, he was fouled on an and one and made the free throw. There are some guys on this team where if they have the ball, I really do want it out of their hands. Wendell, I mean, because we're looking back on this now, even if Wendell goes to the line and splits the free throws, Kennard makes that 3 at the end, and we're going to overtime instead of losing this game. So I do see kind of both arguments. The right thing to do is probably just let Wendell get fouled. But I understand the thought process in the moment if your thought process was, hey, let's get this ball to Desmond Bane. And I do think that was the plan, and we can talk about that in a moment. But what did you think of this whole, situation and the decision that was made?
Yeah, I'm going back and watching it because at one point you said you didn't see anyone gesture, and I was like, man, I thought I remember Jalen Suggs do something, but watching it back, Jalen Suggs is just calling for the ball. It looks like,
yeah,
like when Dell gets it, Jalen puts his arm up. That's all it is. So you're right. Watching it back, I don't see anybody, gesture for the timeout either, which is interesting because a lot of people are blaming Jamal Mosley for this for the timeout, and I just don't know if he is to blame or not. Like,
I don't think there's any way that Goga does that without being instructed to do so. I'm pretty sure he checked in the game right before that.
Yes, 100%. But my question was going to be, right, like, is the official like doing that too prematurely? Like, because I didn't expect him to try to intentionally miss in that moment, right? Like, I wonder, maybe Goga said, make or miss, we want a timeout. And if that's the case, fine. Yeah, that goes on the coaching staff, right? But did he say, hey, we're going to call timeout after this? I don't know who knows what could have been said. So, but yeah, you're right. There's definitely no gesture other than other than Goga, talking to the ref beforehand. But it's interesting, like if you play it back, when the timeout is called, there are multiple guys on the Magic bench that are just kind of looking around like, timeout? What? So it caught even like Magic players by surprise, if that timeout, was called intentionally, make or miss. So, but yeah, it's hard. In the moment, I didn't really think much of it. I was like, okay, we're advancing the basketball, trying to draw up a good out of bounds play. You get this right, you can put the game away, right? I didn't think twice about it, but watching it back, I see the acres of space around Wendell Carter Jr. when he gets that rebound. Because again, honestly, looking at it, I don't know that the Lakers expect him to intentionally miss. That's the thing that I think is also surprising. Like, LeBron is not going for that rebound. I think that's Jackson Hayes on the opposite side of him. They're all standing around. They all get caught off guard. LeBron actually puts his hand on his head afterwards, like, what just happened? And all that leads to Wendell heads up play, grabbing the basketball, and there's no one within 3 feet of him. So it would have taken at least a second, if not more, off the clock. And so watching it back, I am a little more shocked, honestly, and disappointed that that's how it went. But look, if you...
Oh, I made it even worse for you. I'm so happy.
It definitely made it worse. But like, look, if you tell the ref something beforehand, you can't complain if that's what they do. If that's exactly what you told them, if you told them, hey, we're going to call a timeout after this, then you got to do that. So, yeah,
well, if they just called the timeout, all willy nilly, just would have been one other way they found to screw us.
Sure, yeah.
In this one,
yeah.
So look, timeout is called. sideline out of bounds, like near the half court line, magic ball with 5 seconds to go. To me, looking back at the replay, it really does seem that Bane was supposed to be the first option to get this ball, because Paolo starts to come open a little bit, and Jalen kind of thinks that maybe I should go there with the ball. That looks back at Desmond, or at least in his direction, and then decides like last second, like, oh, like I'm running out of time, I got to get this ball in bounds. He throws it to Paolo, and then LeBron is right there. They're both going for the ball. It ends up going out of bounds. And then there's this what felt like 10-minute review of them trying to decide who the ball went out on. With the angles that we got, to me, and I don't know exactly what the rule is here, but I have what I believe is an understanding of this rule. If both players are touching the ball and one player is out of bounds, the ball is out of bounds on the guy that's out of bounds, right? If I'm mistaken on that rule, please somebody correct me. But on the explanation that there was no clear, conclusive evidence that the ball was touching LeBron James, there's clearly a shot where he's standing on the out of bounds line and there is no light or space between the basketball and LeBron James's shorts. How is that ball ruled out on Paolo Banchero? I will never understand. But that's what that's what was called initially. They reviewed it, and they found that there was not enough evidence to overturn that, which I thought was ridiculous.
I go back and forth, and I tell you, hosting the post-game live last night, I had an initial reaction in the moment of, honestly, it was too close to call. I can't really be mad at it, especially because they called on the floor. It's really, really hard to overturn that. Here we sit 24 hours later. This one is still, this
was the one that I'm less upset about.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, it's very tough, and I think this is one of those, if it's called the other way, if it's called magic ball, it probably stays magic ball because there's not enough to overturn that it didn't come off of LeBron James, right? And so, yeah, this one was really, really tough, and as tough as it was, I still hate the fact that they have an unlimited amount of time to have reviews, like these 10-minute reviews. I know it wasn't really 10, but it feels like 10 minutes. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, that one was really, really frustrating. But at the end of the day, I'm less mad about this one. Number one, because it's a tough call, but number two, the Magic should have just been able to inbound the basketball.
That's where I was going to go.
You have like, first off, like watching it back, Paolo was wide open at first.
Yeah,
I know Jalen's trying to find Desmond.
That's what it looks like, at least.
Sure, you're right. That's what it looks like. But you've just got it. You see Paolo wide open, you got to get it to him right away. And in fact, he had a full head of steam. He might be able to take a couple dribbles, take another second off the clock. Honestly, he had that much space between him and LeBron at first. Jalen hesitated, looked like he's trying to get to Desmond Bane, which makes sense. One of the best free throw shooters in the game. Instead, comes back to Paolo and ends up being LeBron.
And it's a terrible pass.
It's a bad pass.
It's a terrible pass.
Yep.
If he throws that inside to Paolo's left hand, this game is over.
Yep.
But he throws it not only to Paolo's right side, but almost behind him,
yep,
which allows LeBron to get into the play. Like, Jalen had a few decisions down the stretch. People are trying to blame Jalen for this game. Jalen was not great. Jalen had a couple of really, really tough decisions down the stretch and just needs to be better in that regard in general. But this was a brutal, brutal, brutal pass.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, 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 very poor. And it just came out of panic, right? Like he knew the time was low. He missed Paolo first. He tries to go to Desmond, tries to come back and just rushed it. And it really, really cost the team.
Well, so Laker ball, they call timeout, draw up a play. And the very first play, LeBron James ends up wide open underneath the basket. And I think, okay, here it goes. They're about to score. We're going to have the ball left with like 1 second, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. Paolo legitimately makes a phenomenal play. Phenomenal play. To me, and again, if we're being honest when it comes to the officiating and them being bad, he fouled LeBron James. But before that, LeBron James travels.
100%.
100% travels. catches the ball with both hands, establishes both feet, and takes a hop 3 inches forward with both feet.
Yeah.
Does not establish a pivot, does not dribble the ball, catches the ball with both hands, and takes 1 hop forward.
Yep.
That is a travel. By definition, that is a travel. Now, Paolo, in my opinion, fouled LeBron. The last 2-minute report says nothing about the travel, says nothing about the foul, which both angles that we have, maybe we can't see like clear and conclusive evidence. I would bet my mortgage that it was a foul because he doesn't hit the ball.
Right.
And somehow LeBron misses that shot. And then after Paolo blocks the shot, hits his arm or whatever, LeBron is the last one to touch the ball before it goes out of bounds. So somehow they missed 3 calls in the span of a half second. And none of that is mentioned in the last 2-minute report.
That's what I was going to say. That's what bothers me. Even like I can understand
completely ignored.
I can understand missing those in the moment, right? Like it's not great, but like those are such bang bang plays. Even the LeBron travel, right? Like it's so subtle and in the heat of the moment and the pace. Like I can be understanding of a referee missing those. The last 2-minute report, you can't miss anything. And to not mention LeBron's feet, literally both feet leaving the ground before he goes up to try to score on Paolo, right? Like not mentioning that is egregious. Whether it's a foul or not on Paolo, whatever. But then the ball being clearly out of bounds off Paolo, that's not mentioned either. That is also egregious. Like, how is that not mentioned? Is it not mentioned because they missed it? Is it not mentioned because... Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it not mentioned because...
No, it gets better. Well, do you want to know why?
Why?
In the play-by-play, this is what it reads. LeBron James, 2-foot cutting layup shot miss. Banchero block. Lakers rebound. The ball went out of bounds, Kevin.
Yeah.
And the official NBA play-by-play... I'm sorry if your eardrums were just blown out of my mic clipped because we're going through some audio stuff here, but the NBA play-by-play listed as a Lakers rebound, and then they call timeout. The ball went out of bounds.
Yeah, it's wild. And I just
saw that. That's why I had to have an outburst. But
well, yeah, my thing is though, like, is it not on the last 2-minute report because they didn't see it, or is it not on the last 2-minute report because they didn't want to list a dozen mistakes in the last 2 minutes? Because that's what it felt like.
Wonder which one do you think it is?
Yeah, I think they didn't want to list that they missed 8 calls in the final 10 seconds of this game. Both ways. I think that's what they don't want to list.
There were 2 other additional incorrect no calls. DeAndre Ayton being in the paint for 3 seconds.
3 of them. There were 2 defensive 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Yep. Plus the Tristan one. So yeah,
that's what I meant. 2 in addition to the Tristan foul. But
yeah.
Well, so then what happens is the Lakers.
Wait, there's more. There's more.
The Lakers call timeout after their rebound, apparently, that they somehow got from the ball going out of bounds. This league sucks, man. It really, really does. Adam Silver deserves to be in prison. They run a very similar play in terms of like an action with LeBron going to the rim. And I don't know if it was Desmond Bane or Paolo. There was some kind of miscommunication where they were very almost paranoid of LeBron getting another similar look. Everybody goes with LeBron. Luke Kennard is wide open, and he drops the 3 with 0.6 seconds to go. Jalen Suggs tries to throw the ball the length of the floor. It does not go in. The Magic lose 105-104, and the Lakers celebrate. Probably 9,000 Lakers fans in attendance celebrate. One kid wearing a Goga Bitadze jersey rips it off to unveil a LeBron James jersey sitting underneath it in celebration. All things considered, just make this one of the very worst losses of the year. And then we have even more to talk about with this game.
Yeah, I just really quickly just going back to that last moment. Isn't it wild that the Magic would have been better off if Paolo didn't block LeBron? Just let LeBron get the 2-point layup and you have a chance to win it at the buzzer.
Or go into overtime.
Yeah, the worst, if you miss, the worst it is goes to overtime. Like, that's rough. Who'd have thought, But yeah, for me, like I said, doing the postgame live last night, for those that don't know, our live postgame show on YouTube after every game, As soon as the game is done, hit live. We try to start as soon as we can. So I didn't really have time to like fully decompress and like reflect on the chaos that it was. I sat on the show, just completely disheveled, right? Because of I was shell shocked because of everything that we just witnessed. But I said on the show last night that I'm really like I'm only but so angry at the officiating because I felt like the Magic just blew it, which they did.
Yeah.
But 24 hours later, I am much more angry at the officiating than I was in the moment. One, because he got it wrong in the moment in multiple occasions. But two, to have the last 2-minute report come out today and some of that stuff just be completely ignored, like not even
wrong.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like just not even list it. It's just wild to me. But yeah, I'm much more angry with the officiating today than I was yesterday. I still can't sit here and say necessarily it's the reason you lost. You had a 5-point lead with 50 seconds to go. You got to put the game away, right? You had a 2-point lead with 5 seconds to go and the basketball. You got to put the game away. It shouldn't have come down to those last couple calls, but it did. And yeah, add it to the list of the Lakers and the NBA screwing the Magic.
Well, in my opinion, the biggest reason that you lost this game was because Paolo Banchero and Desmond Bane combined for 8 of 28 in this game. 4 of 14 from both of them, not good enough. Paolo was 8 of 8 at the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, a block. Paolo did find other ways to impact the game. But when I think it was 27 for Luka Doncic in the first half, and by the way, he did guard Luka Doncic for stretches of this game and did pretty well on him. But when you let Luka have 33 and 8 assists, and Austin Reeves has 26 points, and your leading scorer is Paolo Banchero with 16 points, 8 of those coming at the free throw line, you're not going to beat many teams, let alone good teams. And the Lakers, I think at this point, have won 8 or 9 games in a row, or however many it is for them. Like when the Magic's best players don't play well at this point in the season with all the guys out, we almost have zero chance to win.
And let me just add, Paolo took 2 shots in the fourth quarter. 2 shots, 4 free throws. Good luck in a clutch game against a top NBA team. Right? And I don't want to make it all about Paolo because the Lakers, I came away very impressed with the Lakers defense in this game, which is kind of weird to say, but I thought they defended the Magic really well. It's not hard to defend the Magic, I think, honestly, because of our shortcomings offensively. But they made life really, really difficult for Paolo in this game. And so other guys had to step up, and they just didn't. I mean, yeah, Magic shoots 6 of 18 from the floor in the fourth quarter, 0 of 6 from 3, right? Like they had 3 turnovers. Like it just was a mess of a fourth quarter. But yeah, for Paolo on the night, it was really, really rough. But that fourth quarter for me, 2 shots in a clutch game, that's really tough.
Yeah, this is just a tough game that really would have been nice to have for a multitude of reasons. And when the Magic don't finish because they're not going to, and they don't finish with home court advantage, and that ends up being by 5-6 games, whatever that's going to be by the time the regular season is over, we've got at least that many games that we can point back to and said no business losing that game. And we probably have another half dozen to a dozen of games that you did win that had no business being close games.
Yep.
So, okay. So I'm trying to see where I know it was the first half where the extracurriculars between Luka and Goga Bitadze happened. Essentially, Luka Doncic is actually no, that was the second half. In the second half, Luka Doncic is at the line shooting a couple of free throws, and he says something, and at the camera angle at the time, you couldn't really tell who it was in the moment. I thought maybe it was a fan. It ended up being Goga Bitadze. Goga Bitadze is saying something back to him. And then those guys are on their way down the other end of the floor following the free throws, continuing to chirp, and they both end up with a double technical, okay? This is significant for the Lakers because this was Luka's 16th technical foul on the season. And after you've had 15 technical fouls For every technical foul you receive after that, you are suspended for a game. So, had this technical foul stood, Luka would have been ineligible to play in Monday's game against the Pistons. This to me is just, I'm not blaming JJ Redick for this, but the fact that he was involved just felt slimy from the very start. Immediately after the game, JJ Redick is talking to the press, and he's asked about the technical, and he says that Luka basically said that Batadze Goga said something like really crazy about Luka's family, allegedly. And then Luka comes out after JJ Redick and says that Goga said he was going to F my whole family. And he said, at some point, I have to go ahead and stick up for myself. And at this point in my mind, I'm thinking, me as a grown man, in that context, you say something like that about my family, I'm at least like, basketball is out the window. I'm stepping to you man to man. In one way or another, we are going to handle what you just said. Luka, in my opinion, was not like beside himself in that moment when Goga said, to me, this was another, we thought it was a fan at first because we know that Luka has cried like a little girl. Shout out to all the little girls out there. Didn't mean to throw a stray there, but cries like a baby. Shout out to all the babies out there. Cries like a baby because of some mean things that fans say to him. We've seen him get into it with Mo Wagner on multiple occasions. Like, this is what Luka does. Luka instigates, someone else reiterates or reciprocates rather, and then Luka cries and plays the victim. Okay? Goga Batadze is asked about this in the locker room after the game and basically says, yeah, Luka said some crazy stuff to me in Serbian, not knowing that I speak and understand Serbian. And all I did was say the very same thing back to him. And I guess he took offense to that. He's like, if it crossed the line, my bad. I have a lot of respect for Luka. But all I was doing was giving it right back to him, essentially. And knowing, and look, I completely understand my bias in this situation. But knowing what we know about both of these guys and a long history with both of these guys, one side of that story tends to meet another guy's temperament, and it's not Luka's side of the story. We have way more. We have 5 to 10 instances of this every single year happening with Luka, where he is getting into it with somebody and playing the victim, crying wolf, whatever you want to say. Goga has never had a single instance of somebody saying that Goga said something crazy and like stepped over the line. So I tend to believe Goga in this situation. Before we talk about what the league did with all of this, what was your thoughts on all of that?
We'll get to that in a second. In the moment, first off, I'm distracted. Iowa just took the lead on Florida with 3.9 seconds left. Anyway, okay.
Poor Luke.
Well, we'll see. They've got plenty of time. We'll see what happens. With the Goga Luka thing, I don't want to lean into. I certainly don't want to get into like stereotypes. Obviously, that's not the right thing I'm trying to point out here. Please forgive me.
I don't think it's stereotype.
No. Hold on. I need to explain
okay,
please,
what
right. What I'm getting at. I don't want to be offensive. I know we have people that listen all around the world. We have seen, at least my personal observations, a lot of the NBA players who are from Europe tend to have rivalry. It feels like to me rivalries with one another, right? Maybe that is because they have played against each other at different levels of European basketball, or maybe they've played for different clubs that were rivals, or maybe they come from two nations that don't like each other, or this is not the first instance of that, right? And so when it first started, I thought, oh, it's just another European rivalry. We've seen it with the Wagner brothers. We've seen them get into, little, I don't want to say shouting matches, but, conversations with people they've played against in Eurobasket or the World Cup or whatever. I thought it was that. And then when it spilled over a little bit more, I thought, again, it's just a continuation of it. I didn't think anything of it until post-game. Now, here's the thing with the post-game stuff and the technicals and them being rescinded. 2026, pretty much everything that is said on an NBA court can be played back. There are microphones everywhere. The refs wearing microphones. There are microphones on the baskets. There are microphones everywhere. And the NBA has all of that at their disposal. They have access to all of it. And so they can and have, and I assume they probably did for this, go back and replayed whatever that interaction was and decided it wasn't worthy of a technical. Now, the whole Luka thing and the suspension, that's a different conversation in my mind. But they went back and decided it wasn't worthy of technicals. But here's what I'm going to say. If Goga said what Luka says he said in Serbian, do you think they would have rescinded Goga's technical? No, absolutely not. They would not have rescinded the technical. So I last night when this first happened, I told you, I was like, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Goga said it, not because Goga has a reputation for it, but there are just some languages and some cultures where that F word is just used a lot more freely and loosely. Yeah. And, you know, I was like, maybe that's just something that, you know, in Serbian, whatever. I was trying to come up with
why did Luka take so much offense to it? You know what
right.
I mean?
Sure, exactly right. So, but the fact that got rescinded today makes me think this was a whole bunch of nothing. And I'm glad for Goga it was rescinded. The Luka thing is a different conversation, but yeah, it's a weird one for sure.
To me, it's the NBA's golden boy who we all have suspicion was, you know, fed to the Lakers anyway. And the fact that they're on a 9-game win streak and they're getting ready to play the number one team in the NBA, or sorry, at this point, the number one team in the Eastern Conference. Did Florida just lose?
They lost to Iowa.
That's tough. What was their seed?
Oh, 1. They were the 1 seed.
No, Iowa.
Oh, 9. Sorry, yeah.
That's a tough look.
Oh, man.
After setting the NCAA record for like biggest win of all time, that's tough. But I'm not celebrating that. I understand, Kev, you know, the rivalry there. Yep. Sorry to our Gator people out there. I know Kevin isn't sorry at all, but
nope.
To me, this was like the Lakers started the PR campaign from the very second that all this happened, the post-game stuff. I, for a lot of reasons and a lot of examples, really question the NBA's integrity at this point. It would not surprise me at all if they decided, well, Luka can't be suspended for this game. Is that game on national television, by the way?
The Pistons game? I don't know. It's a good question.
Pistons Lakers game. I'm really curious to see if that game is going to be nationally televised or not.
I've got it right here. Let's see.
Won't really change my mind, but it would be pretty
Monday.
It
nope, it's
doesn't
not.
Look like it is. Doesn't look like it is. But in my mind, they said, okay, well, we're going to take Luka's fine away because he acted all offended in the post game. And even if we go back and Goga did the exact same thing that Luka did, if we're going to try to, you know, be, not be partial, you know, in this, we have to then also rescind Goga's technical as well. That's a conspiracy. I have no proof or evidence of that. But just nothing surprises me, you know, that the NBA does these days. So I thought it was completely ridiculous the way that he acted. I tend to probably believe the story from Goga that he was just like, yeah, you said it to me, I said it back to you. What's the big deal? And then like they're jarring back and forth. Like even in the moment, like we've seen that, like guys talking trash in English and they continue to do it up the floor and they get called for a double technical because it's going on and on. This wasn't like, I don't know that anybody was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they called that a technical. Some people will because like they, you know, the NBA, they say it's soft or whatever, but like that's a pretty normal thing. In the moment, I watched a ton of basketball. I wasn't like clutching my pearls that they called that a technical. I was like, yeah, guys are talking trash at the free throw line. They go all the way up the floor. They're still talking trash. Refs are trying to get control of the situation. It was a double technical. It'd be one thing if one guy got it and not the other guy because they're both talking, but it's like, yo, double technical, stop talking, both of you shut up, let's roll the ball out and let's go. I just thought it was completely ridiculous. Yep. And they both got rescinded. So, I mean, you all can have your own opinions on it. We all will, but it's over and we move on. Kev, this one's a pretty thick boy, as we say, this episode here. But let's take a quick look at the week ahead for the Orlando Magic. It starts Monday. against the Indiana Pacers at home at 7 o'clock. Then they have a back-to-back. After the game, they'll fly to Cleveland and take on the Cavs on Tuesday. That game's on NBC. Then they'll come back home. They take on the Kings on Thursday. And then on Friday, I believe they'll fly to Toronto, or probably Saturday, rather. They'll fly to Toronto. So they'll probably be off Friday, fly to Toronto on Saturday, and then play the Raptors on Sunday. So home for Indiana, at Cleveland, home for Sacramento, at Toronto.
Here's the deal. I am still, as I was a week ago, I am still in the 5th seed bandwagon. I still think this team can do it. And if I were to predict, I'm still predicting they're going to do it.
5?
The 5 seed, yes.
Okay.
And this is the week that it happens, maybe. My prediction, we're going to go 3-1 this week. I think the Magic beat Indiana on Monday. I think they lose on the second night of back-to-back in Cleveland. They beat the Kings. And the very, 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 very important one, they go to Toronto, avenge the embarrassing choke game there earlier this season, and win in Toronto. I've got them going 3-1, which would be a wild turn of events given this past week. What about you?
I was getting ready to disagree with you, and then I reminded myself that, doesn't Toronto have a tough schedule to end the year? Yeah, these are their last 5 games. At Boston, home for Miami, at New York, and then they end the season against Brooklyn. Not really a tough game there. They also have the Magic and Detroit. They have the Magic on Sunday, and then Detroit that following Thursday, the 31st. So my gut still tells me that the Magic end up 6th. I think who does Toronto play this week? They play at Phoenix. They're playing right now. They're at Utah, at the Clippers. They have New Orleans on Friday, and then they have us. Like, what's going on in that game right now? Oh, Toronto's down 13 early. They beat Phoenix a couple weeks ago. Who knows what's going to happen in that game, but I could absolutely see them beating Utah, could see them beating the Clippers, could see them beating the Pelicans, and then it comes down to their game against us, which I do think we are going to win. I think there's a chance that we win that game, but we're still not the 5th seed after that. I think there's still a chance for that depending on how things go. You beat Indiana. You beat Cleveland. You beat Indiana. I think you lose to Cleveland, unfortunately. You beat Sacramento, and then you beat Toronto. If it plays out like that, you probably should be the 5th seed. Yep. But I think there's a chance that, you can't lose to Indiana or Sacramento. You just can't. That'll be a new low point of the season. I don't think I can handle that mentally.
Yeah.
If you go 3-1 this week, which I am going to pick for the Magic,
yes,
you should be the 5 seed by the week's end.
Well, I wasn't even thinking of the week's end. I was thinking end of the season we'd be the 5 seed. But, I mean, it's very possible. You're only a game and a half back of Toronto, and they're playing right now. You could be a game back by the end of the night.
Even if you're the 6th seed by the end of the week, you could be the 6th seed going into the final week of the season. You could be probably the 7th seed into the final week of the season and find a way to be the 5 seed, because all this is still going to be so close.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 3-1. I think you lose to Cleveland, but you win the other 3.
Let's go. Let's do that, man. Please.
I really hope so, man.
Gosh, please.
Really, really do.
Yep.
But, okay, this is one of the longer episodes that we've had in a little while. Just a quick reminder, that Atlanta game being flexed off at ESPN, no longer starting at 7:30. It's starting at 7. No changes as of right now to our Court of Dreams event that day. I'm so looking forward and fired up for that. I can't wait to see you all there. Anything else that we did not mention? Some weeks we missed some things like, we didn't talk about that. This week, I really think we've got it all.
We say that. I'm sure there's something. No, I'm just kidding. I think we got it all. But yeah, what a tough week, man. What a tough week. But
what a tough season.
There's new opportunities tomorrow. So let's take it.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Appreciate everybody for listening. This has been, for Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to The Sixth Man Show. I forgot how to close it out there, but we will catch you guys next time. See ya. Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show.
Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at 6 Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!